You have to truly believe in the magic.
How's it going, Magic fans? And welcome to episode 92 of Penny for Your Thoughts, the podcast of Orlando Magic UK. As the lads have said in recent weeks, if you would like to help us do what we do, then there are a few ways you can do that. The first is by subscribing to the Orlando Magic UK YouTube channel. The reason we ask this is quite simple. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers on this platform, YouTube begins to pay us. That money would be used and is used for paying for prizes we offer from time to time, the website, domain names, and a whole load of other stuff we have to do to actually provide this service. Also, we cover our costs when you use our affiliate codes for the NBA Store EU and Fanatics UK. As well, you can use our online store, which is magicfansapparel.tmail.com. All of the links are in the description of the podcast, and you can find them at orlandomagicuk.com. So that's the plugs out the way. And first of all, you'll notice I'm joined by the ever-present Iron Man of Orlando Magic UK. I think that would make you like the Cal Ripken if you want a baseball joke of Magic UK, Mr. Mikey Clark. So how's life in the land of sweet cider today, Mikey?
What's up, Gary? I'm good, mate. Thank you. No cider for me, mate. Like you said, diet starts now, ready for Orlando in October. So, yeah, I'm staying off that till October, mate.
Good man. Good man. You'll also notice we're joined by a good friend of the show, and it's the co-host of the Balls in Our Court podcast, Mr. Cortez Paul. And I'm really excited about this one. How's things going in what I'm assuming might be sunny but early Florida today, mate?
Oh, man, it is very sunny down here. It's very hot, humid. So, but right now, this is what we get in Florida. You get eight months of summer. So, but hey, it's a blast, man. I can't wait to get you guys down here again and take you around to Orlando again. It was a fun time having you down here, my man.
Oh man, I absolutely loved it. And I know we're going to touch on this later in the podcast, but your recommendations for what to do in Orlando were absolutely just 100% on point. Really, really good. So we will touch on that later on. So before we start, we've got a little bit of Magic news. Shams on July the 28th believes that number one pick Paolo Banchero is finalizing a deal to sign with the Jordan brand. So, Mikey, Cortez, what would your thoughts be on this move?
Give the kid the bag. I'm pretty pleased that he signed with Jordan, and the Jordan Nike brand for me probably have the best advertising that a lot of these players are going to get in terms of like the shoes and that sort of thing later on down the line. He's the number one pick. He's obviously going to draw a lot of attention, being the number one pick and now signing with the Jordan brand. Hopefully, it's going to continue to put the Magic back on the map because the Magic are coming.
This is a big deal, man. I thought he was going to be a low key and probably sign with Puma. And I also thought he was going to either sign with Nike, too, because he's from Seattle. So, Nike has got a grip all over there in that region. So, but nonetheless, sign with the Jordan brand. He's really trying to go big. And that means well for our franchise that we root for and a lot more attention coming our way, as I agree with Mikey. But he's putting a spotlight on the basketball club. And we got to see if we built for this pressure. But, hey, man, diamonds are built with pressure, so let's see what happens.
I love it. I think just what you guys have said, and I think it would be really exciting, again, to be able to go into a store or go online and say, actually, that's one of our guys' signature shoe, like, the T-Mac, the Penny, the Shaq, the Dwight. Having that again can only be good for Orlando. Can only be good.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
You'll notice I'm wearing a hoodie today. I've got an actual spoiler here that I actually have the brand new Orlando Magic, I believe, uniforms for next season. This is what I think they are. So I'm just going to unveil the Tumor edition.
He's got the polo neck on.
Going for the
Tumor. They're bringing the sleeves back.
Yeah, we've got it. Tumor edition jerseys for today's pod. This was what I think we'll be wearing next season. So all the jersey mock-ups, you've been one-upped. Here it is.
Wow, man. That is impressive. You always are good with the jerseys, man. So I'm not surprised that you the plug here.
I'm more impressed that the colours of your polo match your jersey as well. Did you go out and buy that specifically just for today?
Mikey,
he's even got the Magic logo on there. Wow.
It's branded, man. Come on.
Man, it's everywhere. I love it.
We can do this. It's easy to do. We can match the colours. Bit of Gokwan going on there. It's all good.
My man.
You just need some of the glasses to go with it now, just to finish off the outfit.
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. I'll get that done for Orlando in October.
So y'all didn't think they was gonna bring the T-Mac bubble jerseys back? That's the ones I kind of wanted back in some kind of form or fashion.
I'm with you on that one, Cortez. Yeah, there is a rumor. Apparently, they're pushing it back to next season, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's coming. I think it's coming, but I think we've got to wait another year. So,
gotcha.
One of the Jersey, one of the guys on Twitter, there's a few people who seem to just follow Jersey news, and they had out the classic editions that were coming out this year, and we weren't on the list. We originally were being plugged for the blue stars print, and then that's disappeared, and you can see like Classic Warriors won again, and San Antonio's got a George Gervin special, but yeah, I guess we're next season, but we can live with that.
Yep, sure can. I'm patient.
Wait for Paolo to win Rookie of the Year, and then they can drop some hot jerseys next year.
That's what we want, man.
Absolutely.
So we're going to jump into our guest section, Cortez. So there's going to be a lot of questions. It's going to be like a grilling of you here, but a friendly one at that. And Mikey, I'll let you start, and we'll go from there.
So tell us about your Magic fandom then, Cortez. How did you become a Magic fan? And have you got any favourite memories?
So when I was growing up, believe it or not, I was initially a baseball fan. I was a Cincinnati Reds fan at like 7 years old. And playing basketball with my friends in the neighborhood here, I just really converted to basketball within like the summer. And so come to realize, I remember watching some games when we went back to school on the TV, and it was the Charlotte Hornets was kind of like the first team. So I'm kind of, okay, I like this Charlotte team. And this was me as a young kid, like watching Larry Johnson and Muzzy Bowes and Del Curry. And I'm like, they're a fun team. Come to realize there was a game that came on a Saturday, and the Magic. So I'm like, oh, wow. So we have a team here in Orlando. At that young age, I didn't know. So, of course, my dad and my family, my dad is a big basketball fan. Unfortunately, he's a Lakers fan. So
we'll skip over that bit.
Exactly. So I latched on to them, and I remember just being a Magic fan. That was the day one when I was 8 years old, back in 94. That's when I became a Magic fan and just attached on to them. Penny was my favorite player. There was this tall 6'8" guy that can handle the ball like a guard. It was just looking into the future, because look at it now. It's so many big guys that handle the ball. We just drafted one. And so it's just that at that age, seeing someone that tall doing guard-like skills was just an aura. Shaq was this big presence, so he was fun to watch. But I remember, this is where the story gets sad, and I had to make a decision. Shaq was in free agency, and he was ready to leave Orlando, or in the midst of getting ready to leave Orlando. So my dad come in the room and was like, "Hey, so I just want to tell you happy birthday." I'm like, thanks, Dad. So, by the way, I got to drop some news for you. So he had a newspaper and showed me that Shaq went to the Lakers on my birthday. I was 10 years old, and Shaq went to the Lakers on my birthday. And I'll never forget this. My dad was like, "So what you going to do? Are you going to be a Lakers fan, or are you going to be a Magic fan?" And long and behold, I still be a Magic fan. All those excruciating torture years that I'm still remain, I chose to be a Magic fan. So it was a character building moment that I chose that I stayed to root for the Magic, and I've been a fan ever since. And I love this basketball team, season ticket holder, and they're my squad, man. I love them, good or bad or ugly.
You've brought me and Mikey had a conversation the other day, and I've gone back to this a couple of times, but I actually remember as well that very day, and obviously we didn't know each other then, but I got into Orlando on that day when Shaq left for the Lakers. So actually, I remember checking into the hotel, and there was like a couple of bellhop guys standing there, and they were making like, oh, maybe Shaq would do it for this money. And I was like, that isn't a good sign. So I was about 15, 16 at the time. And then I went up to the room, put the TV on, and here's Shaq saying, well, Orlando's still got Penny Hardaway, but I'm going to be a Laker. And it was at that very moment, I was just like, it's going to be a while before we are relevant again. And I was saying to Mikey, I could remember people burning Shaq's jersey. And someone actually, I think, hung or burned a cutout as well of Shaq on the local news. And I was like, man, people here are angry, really angry. It's not just me, but it's one of those, being in America, seeing that. And then when Dwight left, I was telling Mikey, I actually went past Los Angeles, drove past it on the day Dwight left. So when Banchero and Wagner are up for free agency, I'm not coming to America at that point. I'm not going at all. It ain't happening. Man. So Cortez, for a very common question that we ask when people come on the pod is, what would be your all-time Magic starting five? And I'll tell you mine right now is Penny, T-Mac, Turk, Rashad, and Shaq. What would be your all-time Magic five?
Okay, so that was a good question. I actually like this. I get this all the time, actually. So I would go with Shaq at the 5. I would go with Dwight at the 4. Mm-hmm. At the 1, I go Penny. 2, T-Mac. 3 is a wild card, and I will go with Grant Hill. Mm-hmm. But I might add a little bit extra to this. So my guys off the bench, Vince Carter, Vucevic, and Turkoglu. Mm-hmm. Lewis is in there somewhere, of course, but those would be my rotation guys there. So I got to have those 4. But Grant Hill and Vince Carter was a toss-up for me, but I went more Grant Hill if he was healthy, because he's more diversified with his game and probably could fit in like a plug with there and play amazing defense. So Vince can just provide the scoring off the bench. Mm-hmm.
Grant Hill's one of my all-time favorites as well. So me and Mike, it's like mine and Mikey's conversation on the phone the other day. Grant Hill, it's just such a shame that he got the injury he got as he was coming to us, because I think that he was before it became Kobe's era, I think it was going to be MJ to Grant Hill, possibly Penny, and then it would have passed on to Kobe. So it was something. Mikey, what's your all-time 5?
I've not really thought about it.
On the spot.
Oh yeah, put me on the spot. Penny and Shaq have to be on there first. T-Mac. You can't not put Dwight in there. I know why you haven't gone Dwight because of floor spacing, but Shaq and Dwight would be there. I'd probably edge Turk over Rashad just for his playmaking and his passing. But yeah, you need his floor spacing as well if you've got Shaq and Dwight out there as well. So
if I was going best 5 players, then I would have put Dwight in, undoubtedly. I just looked at it like modern NBA type and thought I want to have some shooters around Shaq. But
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with your 5, mate.
Good approach. So. Yeah, that's the approach there. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, be interesting. So, Cortez, we've got a bit of an anniversary for you today, which is you're a big contributor to the Magic on Twitter, and there's a cult clip of your reaction to the 2021 NBA draft. Could you just fill the listeners in as to what happened? Because I cannot do this justice.
Gotcha. Well, of course, we had 2 draft picks last year, and one of them being the Bulls pick. So, of course, we watched and saw it slip. Got pretty excited about that pick, and so I jump up and down for joy. So the next pick, the 8th pick, I was all in on Al Sagoon. Like, that was my guy. I was like, okay, we need someone that's, very sound offensively, got some good post move. We just lost Vucevic. So let's try to, we didn't know what we really had in Wendell Carter Jr. yet. So I was just like, okay, let's just see what happens here. Have I watched some clips on Franz? Yes, I educated myself a little bit on Franz, but I didn't really know him that well. So this was just me being uneducated at this point. So when we got the pick, it was pretty much a shock to me because it's like, man, I did not get what I want. And so my reaction was like this little kid that you just took his candy away from him. And and everybody on Twitter was like, that's my reaction. I had my arms folded like this, set back down. And my buddy who recorded, he was like, dude, your face is priceless. So, and as soon as I put it on Twitter, I said, guys, I got to post this because this is going to go viral. As soon as I put it on Twitter, everybody was like, oh, that was me. That was me. That was me. A year later, I done made, when he had that dunk in the Minnesota game, I apologized after that. I apologize again. And I'm on this podcast in the UK. I'm apologizing again to Franz. This is why I am a fan. This is why I sit my butt in the seat and watch a game. And Jeff and John handled the personnel decision. So kudos to them. It was a great pick by them.
Let's be honest, mate. We all, I think I didn't hear any Magic fans say that we're going to take Franz with the 8th pick, and I'd looked at a bit of Şengün and I'd looked at Book Knight as well, and I think the whole processing of not getting a guard, because I was expecting us getting Scotty Barnes at 5, and then it happened processed, and then when it hit, I just kind of went, "Oh, right, okay," and then it's awkward silence, and then like trust the front office, and then just back to business. But
who did you want with that the 5th pick, Cortez? If you had to choose last year between, I know with hindsight, Barnes has just won Rookie of the Year, but who were you on going into last year's draft?
So if we got at Barnes, cool, but we had the Aaron Gore experience, so I just didn't want to deal with that again.
Yeah.
So I would rather was to hope that somehow I know there was somebody I want, but it wasn't Scotty Barnes. I was like, go with somebody else. I'm slipping on who I wanted, but I know it wasn't Scotty. I was like, let's let him go 6. I think it was a little bit. It wasn't Kuminga either, but I was hoping that Suggs slipped. That was our rules. I was like, let him slip. And once that happened, everybody in the arena freaked out. I was like, there's no way he's slipping past 4 because Toronto just got rid of Kyle Lowry, so they need a guard. And I was like, there's no way. And then Ujiri ended up picking Scotty Barnes, and we just went crazy. I went to the draft party. It was crazy in there. Yeah, so I was praying that he slipped. That sucks.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of clips, Cortez, you landed quite the position before the final home game of the season against the Heat, where Gary was there too as well. Can you elaborate on this a little for people listening? Sure. So, yeah, I got selected on Fan Appreciation Night. I was one of the fans that got selected to announce a player. Mm-hmm. And so this is pretty cool because when I went to college, I did some public address for soccer, football, volleyball. So I have experience doing this, so it wasn't particularly new to me. But this was a dream. This legit was a dream come true for me to sit there and announce a Magic basketball player. So it came to where I was sweating bullets because the game before, because I had 2 players. I had Cole Anthony and I had Mo Bamba. So I did 2 videos for those guys. Cole was already in a boot, so I already know he wasn't going to play. The game before, Mo Bamba got hurt. And I'm like, well, just my luck. I was like, so I'm sweating. I was like, man, I done did this video. I know it's going to kill it. Everybody's going to love it. So I remember I was like, Mo, I don't care if you play 5 minutes, man. Can you at least, I tweeted like, can you at least play for 5 minutes? Just get introduced. Cause this is a dream for me, man. Like, I want to do this. Like, I want to show myself. So next thing you know, it's funny. Gary come down for the last game for the Heat. We go to the lodge. And I'm like, he's like, mate, check your Twitter. And I look at it and they posted a video. I said, no way. So I'm like in the bar, like, yeah, oh my God, no way. Gary's like, that's you, man. That's you. I'm like, no way. So I go to the arena and I see the video coming, and I was trying to record it. And as soon as I get to the part, I'm like, let's go. That's me. Let's go. That's me. It's like, and everybody in the session is like, yeah, that's you. That's my son. Oh, man. So, like, I told Gary, like, can you give me your video? Because you wasn't screaming. So can I have your video?
so I could put it up and load it up. But man, Mikey, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. Even the Magic Twitter man was like, Cortez killed that, man, and it was just so much feedback. Except for the one guy that had a anime profile picture and said, "Yeah, that third guy killed it, but something's wrong with his face." But I'm like, I guess, man, whatever. But the guy who's got a picture as an anime character said something wrong with my face. Okay, but no. Besides that, it was great. It was
tweeted from his basement of his mom's house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly. So I didn't have as good an experience as that, but when Paul G and I and families and friends, we went over for the playoffs in 2019. We were all there for games 3 and 4, and Paul and G obviously aren't here tonight or this afternoon, so it's even funnier they're not here because I can tell the story properly. And we walk into the Amway and we go and speak to Mackenzie, Nick Anderson, Dante comes over, Brian Hill. We have our pictures with them, and then Mackenzie comes up to us and she said, "Do you mind do you guys want to do an interview for Fox Sports to go on the broadcast for the game?" And we're like, yeah, that's cool. So me, Paul and G, and this is on our YouTube channel, so you can actually check it out. But we're there, we do the interview, we walk away and we're like, they're not going to use 3 Brits. Why do they want to listen to us? So we go into the game, and then later on our phones are blowing up because people are messaging us going, "You guys are on Fox Sports," and giving it all of that. And it was really cool until afterwards when we had some Wi-Fi and and we could actually watch a video back, and we're watching a video back, and I pop up, my little clip comes up, then they cut to a couple of American fans, then they cut to Paul, I think they cut back to me again and Paul. Anyway, it gets to the end of the video, there's no Garrett whatsoever. They've cut him out of the entire thing. So I feel a little bit sorry for G, but I always joke that they couldn't understand his Welsh accent, which is why they didn't put him on the video. But that was quite funny.
I've got no chance then, really.
No, that's all right. That's cool. But yeah, that was quite funny. That was quite funny. So moving on, Cortez, for reflecting back on last season, record-wise, we didn't obviously have the best year with 22 wins, but there's a reason for optimism with Banchero now, and players taking the next step from last season. What are your takes on what you saw from last year and where we are now going into the new season?
I've been very vocal about our season that we really, truly don't know what we have. We have this potential, and potential is always a scary word to use, but we have a lot of young talent that we have on this team. The way they set up the season last year was as I use the word, they strategically tanked. I mean, for the whole COVID outbreak, the breakout that we have, the COVID situation, and we had to use G League players to come in there. Oh, I'm telling you, John and Jeff was smiling when that happened. Not for the people that were sick, but that's the fact they can lose more games and have an excuse like, oh, this is why we can lose more games. There were times where, and that's why I say some of these players, they was put in situations that was more than can bear. You see Cole Anthony, who started the season great. I mean, he ended up getting hurt. So he was carrying a lot of the scoring load a little bit. So I feel like now that John came out on a podcast, I believe it was Brandon Kravitz show, saying that they're actually going to try to win, or they're going to try to build around it. He actually kind of paraphrased, say that they're not tanking. So I do believe that we are going to be a better basketball team. We're going to be a fun basketball team to watch. A lot of things that we didn't have last season, like T. Ross said, we have now. We have someone that can get to the rim, someone that can get us in the penalty, create foul shots for the team. We have more shooting. We have playmakers. Foss is coming back, and at least for a full season, and it's going to be see how he integrates. Franz come back as another year. Suggs come back healthy. Cole Anthony's come back healthy. If you see some of his recent videos, he done added some weight on him. He done added some muscle to him. Wendell Carter Jr. has already been primed for possibly most improved player candidate. There's so much buzz around Orlando because of Banchero, but particularly now people are trying to pay attention to the other players. that they're trying to catch up on this team because they're coming. They're really coming. And it might not be next year, but in a few years, Orlando is going to be something to a force to be reckoned with. And it's going to make us fans proud that kind of stuck it through this rebuild that they're slowly building. And I'm all about playing it out this year. I don't want to make any moves. I know Donovan Mitchell names to come up, a few players named to come up to try to make moves for it. I want to see what we have and then make decisions afterwards and see what we have. Vegas got us winning 27 games. I'm taking the over. That's free money they're just giving us. I don't think we're winning. I don't think it's going to be 27 games. I think we're going to get between 30 to 35 games. These guys are optimistic that we can get to the playoffs. By all means, shatter our expectation. If you believe you can get to the playoffs and y'all can get there, please, us fans will love that. I got to be realistic here and think that we get 30 to 35 games.
Mm-hmm. I think as well, and I agree with what you're saying, mate. And for me, it's what else is in the Eastern Conference. I think if the East had been like, when we got at the playoffs before where it wasn't a strong East, this is a really good squad. But when you're looking at it now, it's maybe Charlotte will dip. With taking Bridges out the team, I could see Charlotte dipping. If New York don't make the trade for Mitchell, if those players know that they've been shopped, will the Knicks have just continue on their downward trajectory? Washington might be another team, but then I think us and Detroit will improve.
Yep.
I think it's going to be hard to see which team would drop out from there because the longer Brooklyn goes without making a trade, the Nets look as though they're going to be still in the picture and be better if they're healthy.
The other team I thought about, I don't know how you guys feel. I wonder whether Cleveland take a bit of a dip this year because they started off last year really well. They were in that playoff spot for so long, and then I think injuries hit them a little bit, and then they ended up as a play-in team. And they still had a really good season for Mobley's first year in the league, but I just wonder whether they're still a young team, aren't they? And I know they've brought in players. I know they've brought in Robin Lopez, and his experience is going to help with that team as well. But I just wonder whether maybe, like you said, Gat, with New York bringing in Mitchell, does he elevate them above another team like Cleveland who are still building themselves?
Yeah, and it's if that. I think it's if it happens, Mike, because I think if you're a player like Fournier's been, for example, thrown into a few hypothetical trades for Mitchell, if you're a player where it's actually, we're looking to shop you, we were looking to get rid, does that affect how you are as a locker room guy, even though I think Fournier is probably pretty good in the locker room? But then I agree. And I think as well with Cleveland, there's the cloud of Colin Sexton.
Yeah. They got that decision to make as well, haven't they?
Yeah. That'll be interesting. They want LeVert, apparently. They allegedly want LeVert, but, Sexton to me is a guy where if a team got him for cheap, someone like the Lakers got Sexton for cheap, he changes that team dramatically for me.
Dallas should make a run at Sexton. Dallas, if they got the money, Dallas should make a run with Sexton.
Yeah, I agree.
He's the scorer. And then Luka's the one that can facilitate, so make a run. Dallas should try to make a run for him.
Yeah.
Y'all mentioned about the whole rough in the locker room, fellas. So what about the Jaylen Brown situation? This is a team that just went back to the NBA Finals. And now you potentially, I don't know if it came from the Nets side, but there's just rumor about Jaylen Brown, about getting traded for Kevin Durant. So now you just created some controversy in your locker room, and he's a free agent next year. And Lord knows what happened, man. They just fell again.
I would be surprised if Boston gave up everything to get KD.
I would, yeah.
Because the future's there for them, and I think Brown tweeted something like SMH or something, didn't he? And you're like, you've just got to the finals. They've added Brogdon. I think they've added Gallinari as well. They look a strong squad. So I'm kind of like, what you've got?
Run it back.
Yeah, run it back.
Run it back. They got a dang good team, man. Run it back, and they added a weakness that they was having. They turned the ball. Jason Tatum had 100 turnovers in the playoffs, most ever. So now you got a point guard that can handle the ball from time to time, and then you can be a situation ball handler. Which for I'm going back to the Magic here. I know everybody was like, well, let's get rid of Fultz and let's run through Banchero. No, because you just saw the recipe that was a disaster that he tried to put the ball in his hands as a forward. So no, Boston did the right thing, add another piece that can handle the ball. They got another shooter in Gallinari. And now you want to ruffle the feathers and try to get KD and then get rid of Brown and cause issues in the locker room. I'm hoping that the Boston management said, hey, this was a leak from the net side, not our side.
It'd be interesting to see where it goes, because that was a surprise when it came out to me. I was like, well, eyebrows raised, you know. We had a conversation, Cortez, on the pod before last, where we were talking about, with the current group, what the starting five would look like. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the same page. Me and Mikey were on the same page. What would be your everybody healthy opening night starting five for the Magic?
So my starting five, so I'm going to do my starting five versus what they might do. My starting five will be, of course, the front court, Wendell Carter Jr., Franz, Paolo. The guard is going to be Fultz. I want Cole to start just for until subs figure out shooting-wise. But who I think they will go with, and the reason they probably signed him back to a 2-year deal, is Gary Harris. Suggs and Anthony just come off the bench until one of them figure out who's the cream of the crop to start with folks. So that will be my starting five versus who I think they're going to start.
I feel like we didn't really give Gary, because when we talked about this, was it 2 weeks ago when we had all five of us on the pod, we didn't really even mention Gary Harris, did we? It wasn't somebody that I think we probably slept on him a little bit, but again, we said this on previous episodes, Gary's the most experienced, is probably going to give us the better chance to compete from day one. So it's down to Coach Mosley, isn't it, to make that decision which way he thinks we're going to go, who's going to give us the better chance of winning games this year.
Well,
absolutely.
I think as well, Cole's been quite like a divisive figure amongst the Magic Twitter fan base. And I know, Cortez, that you and I, we've gone into bat for Cole. We've had the full body armor on at times. Where do you currently stand with where like Cole is, and how do you think he would take that leap to hit this potential that he does bring?
You know what? It's so unfair to Cole that he gets registered as automatically sixth man when everybody else on the team is like, oh, Wendell Carter can be a star. You know, Fultz can be a star. Franz can be a star. And Cole is still fairly young, and Cole was a top 5 player in his class in high school. So let's not forget that. And he had an injury-riddled season with North Carolina. So, I mean, and that's probably why he slipped in the draft, because honestly, he shouldn't have been drafted in the middle where he was. He's that much more talented. So I'm interested to see where it goes with him. I just think because of listen, we are aware that his defense needs to improve. But he does something very well for his size. He rebounds the ball well for his size. He gets to the rim. He just needs to learn how to finish, which I think adding the muscle mass will help him out.
Yeah.
But I just think the whole injury with him near the end of the season just kind of set him off a little bit, where he couldn't get that lift off his jump shot. But I just hate the notion that he's instantly just got to be this, he's sixth man of the year candidate when he got enough talent to start. Now if Stokes come out here, Suggs come out to blow out the gate and start shooting and go ahead, man. Like that's the only thing, because Suggs can lock up somebody. He's one of the better defenders that we've seen as a prospect. So, next to Drew Holiday. But back to Cole, I think for him that really the selling for him, as long as he can be a good team defender. If he can aim to be that, I think that's okay. But I do think that he at least could be a star in this league. I don't think he's a sixth man. I think he at least can be a star in this league.
Have you guys had the chance to listen to Zach Lowe's podcast? I think it was earlier this week with Kevin Clark on there. Have you guys listened to that at all?
Yeah. I've had the fill-in off you, Mikey, but
yeah. Well, Kevin Clark appeared on with Zach Lowe this week, and they broke down the Magic and Banchero and how the roster's set for the next 5-10 years. And they were talking about the guard rotation and the guard position, and they both think the forward position, which I think is pretty much a lock, isn't it, with Wendell, Paolo and Franz, that they can see the three of them being 3 starters on the Magic if we end up becoming a contender in the next 5 to 10 years. But they said in terms of the backcourt, they was basically saying Fultz is probably at best a decent backup point guard in the next 5 years. And they also said the same about Cole Anthony and Suggs. I think still trying to figure it all out at the moment. But yeah, I just wonder what you guys thought about that. Because look, Cole's shown flashes of that all-star potential, but with his shooting and lack of defense, you can see why people sort of fit him into that sixth man sort of role as well. But yeah, to say that they were both sort of backup players in the future, kind of, I think, is a bit of an insult to them.
Yeah,
Cortez,
and that's why you want to see them play it out, because you really don't know what we have. I mean, so for us to label them already like six-man material without Fultz just came back and he helped us the one run to playoff get the. I mean, I know we made an appearance in one game, but for the most part, he was vital to that game. So like, I just want to see these guys play 1 year, so I can come to that like terms of like, okay, yeah, I can see the whole six-man thing, yeah. Because right now I don't see it with either Fultz or Anthony. I don't see it right now until I'm convinced, like after a year, like, okay, well, we need some change in our guards here. So that's my two cents on it.
Yeah, I think we need time to see. I think it's noticeable that Cole's put some size on in the off season.
What, height or weight?
Weight.
Just joking.
Got the shoe elevations, Mikey, as well. He's doing the UK. We've got a UK politician called Rishi Sunak. He's doing a Rishi Sunak and wearing like an extra 3 inches, and he's
oh man.
But I think to write them off now, if they were playing for another team, would they be written off? If this was we hear all the time about like Taylor Horton-Tucker being a star, playing, for example, on the Lakers. And I'm sorry, but I've seen nothing from Taylor Horton-Tucker to suggest to me that he's better than Cole or Markelle at all. I think if somehow Markelle Fultz becomes a mid-30s three-point shooter, if he just became 35%, he's an all-star. If he stays healthy, he's on that borderline. Is he a starting 5 all-star? Possibly not, but he's good enough to be in that conversation. And then when we look at Cole, things happened last season, but in the first 25 games of the season, Cole was getting talked about as like not only the most improved player, but borderline all-star. He was posting, it's like, Cortez, I think you drew this comparison on Twitter. He was posting Steve Francis style stat lines.
Yeah.
For a guy who had no preseason for his rookie year, he was like a 26-6 guy. And those guys they're not common in the league. They're really not. So I think for people just to sweep in and go, oh, well, Cole Anthony's going to be this. Well, Jalen Brunson's just getting a lot of money from the New York Knicks. And I think, he's doing really very similar things to what Cole in year 2's done.
Yep.
So to just write somebody off that quickly I think it's a bit premature, is what I'm trying to say.
I think the big key is whether Paolo can become that lead ball handler.
Yeah.
Or how much, not full time, obviously. He's not, you don't want the ball in his hands all the time. You don't want him starting the offense because you really want to, and again, this is what they talked about on the podcast. You want that lead ball handler in the guard position as well. You want somebody that can share the load with him. But yeah, I think Paolo's ability offensively is going to really determine what direction this team's going to go in the next couple of years massively. But moving on, Cortez, tell us, what was your take? How would you grade the Magic's draft when you look at other key prospects like Jabari Smith Jr., Chet Holmgren, Keegan Murray went 4 and Ivy went 5? Were you happy with how it played out?
I am now. Watching 2 summer league games, man, because initially I didn't have Paolo on our radar. Like, like he said, he thought he was getting drafted third because he didn't go work out with the Magic. So my whole thought was like, hey man, is he a Chad Jabari? And I still do the hashtag check boys. I'm still hashtag check boys. So, but I'm watching 2 summer league games with Paolo, and I watched him. I watched some video. I'm like, okay, he's impressed. But the thing that worried about Paolo, I was like, okay, well, he needs the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. We already have folks who can't shoot the ball, and I really want to see where this point front situation goes. So I want to see him on the ball a little bit more. So we get another guy who needs the ball in his hands, and I was worried about that. But watching the summer league, he has the ball in his hand, and he's make quick and rash decisions. He doesn't have the ball in the hand for like 2 seconds. He really try to look. He's like, okay, I'm going to drive or I'm going to pass. And he looks to pass. He really looks to pass. And so when I watched the Houston game, he was bigger than everybody else. I mean, he made Jabari look like an adolescent team, man, just the way he's built. So after watching this, I'm like, why wasn't he consistent number one? Like, did the Magic knew something? And this is the thing with like the Weltman and Hammond, like, did they know? Because like we're sitting here watching them, like you can see why he went number one. Like you can see, and you just wonder, like, why wasn't he the consensus number one pick? Jabari still working into his frame. He's gonna get it. He's gonna figure it out. Chet, I love his ability. I know he's got the frame issue where he's tiny. But I was thinking of in my head, and this is just base case scenario. I don't want to put anything in my head. I'm like, KG-like ability where he can defend multiple positions, can handle the ball. And I was like, man, I don't want to miss out on a guy like that again. But then I'm looking at it now, I'm like, you know what? Paolo was the right choice. And for once, they kept a second round draft pick. And they love these Michigan guys, I tell you. And I'm like, okay, it was Houston, was a solid prospect. And apparently he went to Mount Verde Academy and was supposed to be, he was one of those top recruited players as well, too. And he just tended to slip. And he came out just slinging the ball, signing. You can see why they signed him right away. I'm like, why he hadn't signed yet? And they watch him. I'm like, oh, now they signed him. So I give the Magic, the last few years, man, they really killed this draft process. Like, we're so much set up for the future better than we was a few years ago. I mean, this is me seeing Vucevic cry, and I cry because I'm like, this guy embraced the city. But this is a decision that has to be made for you to move forward. You can't sit in the middle all the time and sit there and hope that we add little pieces here. You have to make drastic changes. Sometimes you got to take one step back to move 2 steps forward. And the Magic, the last 2 drafts, did that exact thing. They are moving forward in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, this summer league was exciting, seeing Paolo, but you went to summer league last summer. Tell us about that experience. Is that something you'd recommend Hoops fans get out to Vegas to go and see?
Oh, man. Listen, Vegas basketball summer league. If you're the hardcore basketball fan, you watch hoops religiously, which I know you 2 guys do, and everybody on this podcast love basketball. So y'all watch this religiously like I do. Going out there and interacting with, media. I met up with Josh Robbins and we had a conversation. Gary Payton was signing autographs everywhere. Nice human being. They're just random NBA players walking around, and it's literally like for you pay, so the tickets all day, you can pay $60 all day and watch games. They have concession stands, they have drinks, you can go to the bar, relax. You can go there, the 2 arenas, and they got Cobb Pavilion and Thomas and Cobb Center, Thomas and Mack Center. They're right there within walking distance. And it was just such an experience. I remember everybody was like, man, you from Florida. What are you doing here? I was like, to watch basketball. You're not here to go to the clubs. You're not here to go. No, I'm here to watch basketball. I'm a simple guy, man. Did I go down and hang out the Strip? Yeah, I did. But I went right down to the Fremont Street where my Tito's was $5 down there, and the bartenders actually talk to you, and you tip them well, and you play slots. I played slots and lost $5-10. I said, I'm done. But I sit there and watch this show in Vegas. It was a great time. Food was over there amazing. I had Fat Burger. That's a West Coast burger joint over there. They're moving one to Orlando, but to try it over there, probably one of the biggest and best burgers I had. But the Vegas experience, man, I'm telling you, if you're a casual fan and if you can afford a week to go and just watch basketball and enjoy these young prospects, because you meet recruiters from even across the way. There were recruiters in the Chinese basketball league that was over there. The Euro leagues over there was over there recruiting players. So they have a draft there after they complete the season. So there's so many dreams that's trying to be accomplished there that you respect the game even more from watching something like that. You learn from the game. You talk to all these hoop heads that's near you. I talked to Sacramento fans. I talked to Milwaukee fans, like just having discussion with pure basketball. Oh, you're a Magic fan? You from Orlando? Yeah, man. Like, you flew all the way to Vegas to watch the summer league? Hey, man, I got to come out here and watch Suggs and Wagner. So, but from a fan standpoint, I'm definitely going again. I wish I would have went this year, because knowing what we know now, Apollo. But I would recommend anybody to go, and I would be going again to watch the Vegas Summer League.
That's quite the endorsement. And you were saying there about some of your experiences, and I know when I was in Orlando, you gave me the Cortez experience of the City Beautiful, and you nailed the pre-game with it. You know, we went to get the tacos and such beforehand, and then we hit up the lodge. Have you got any tips for those going to watch the Magic in future? Because I will say I fully endorse any recommendations that Cortez make. They're just absolutely nailed.
Listen, so Magic Game Day is always a big day for us, but for the folks that I go to, like at least 25 games a year, so it's a big deal for me, man. Like, this is everybody like, oh, you get your Disney pass here, your annual pass here for Disney, your annual pass for Universal. This is my annual pass here. I go to Magic games. I go to basketball games. I'm a hoop fanatic. So I told Gary when he came down, like, listen, man, I said, do you want a Philly cheesesteak or do you want some tacos or burritos? He was like, I'm going to move for some tacos. All right, well, we're going to Gringos Locos Tacos, and you're going to have the best tacos that you have in your life here. They were voted best in Orlando. Gary went there. You can see he just melted when he bit into that. But no, so the funny thing is I go to these bars that I know people that are Magic fans. The bar manager at the lodge is a Magic fan. A few of the bartenders, I took a few of them to a game. So, you know, they're all Magic fans. So they engage you, and Gary can tell you the drinks are strong over there. Yeah. They know me. They make the drinks pretty strong. So you establish relationships with the bartenders. You establish relationships with people already down there. I was down there for a soccer game just a week ago, and they was like, "Where you been at?" I was like, "There's no Magic games, man. I'm not downtown like this anymore. This is for the young crowd, man." Like, but no, it's one of those where you literally look up. There's so much good food around the area. If you go to Mills Avenue, there's food over there. Barbecue joint over there. They got Asian cuisine over there. Like I said, man, I'm all about looking up the area, and I like trying stuff different new. There's a place called Chicken Fire that makes the best chicken tender. They're rivaling Chick-fil-A. Cena's is a soul food place that's right down the way. They make some of the best greens and pork chops you ever have, man. Like, but if you look at some of this experience that's nearby the arena, you're rooting for the Magic to do well, because when they do well, all these other business nearby are just going to shoot up. So I'm really rooting for the Magic to be in contender again, so these businesses can benefit from them being in contention and stay in contention.
Absolutely. And it's the footfall, isn't it? It's bringing people into the area. It helps them. Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah. I endorse it. I will say, Mikey, that I think it was at the Double D.
Double D tacos.
Yeah, I would really recommend. Knowing you're the man who likes his food, Mikey, I think you'd be into that.
Well, I'm sorry to everyone listening and watching, because I'm hungry now. so if you are too, then we could just blame these two guys. I'm definitely looking forward to hitting out with you guys in October for sure. Looking ahead to this season, then, Cortez, there's a mix of opinions about what the Magic might do this season, where they're going to finish. and the landscape of the NBA. But do you think the Magic can make the play-in tournament or even the playoffs? And what's your predictions on who's going to win it all next season? Kings of the East, Kings of the West, MVP, all that sort of stuff. So I want your full take.
Okay, so the Orlando Magic are a very interesting team. They're going to put it together. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be one of those teams that you have on League Pass. Like they're going to be one of those teams that going to be that if they wasn't already. So I expect them to barely miss the play-in. They'll be right there, but they'll come up short. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I want to be wrong more than anything in the world for them to make it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like we'll make our evaluations, and then next year we'll strike with a disgruntled player, Jaylen Brown. But no, I just think with that's how we'll look for that. So as far as who I think will be the NBA champs, I think the Bucks bounce back, man. Milwaukee Bucks will bounce back if they stay healthy. Maybe we'll finally have a matchup between them and Golden State. But Phoenix, I'm not counting out either. I know they had a down year and they just got too cocky and ran to a. When you play a superstar like Luka, the one superstar can just change the landscape of a series. Y'all know that. You have that one superstar that just changed the landscape of everything. Kings of the East and Kings of the West. It won't be the Kings anymore who won't be Kings of the East. They are doing things the right way. They got a defensive coach and they got some offensive talent around them. And De'Aaron Fox has a little bit more spacing now with adding Murray and adding these other pieces that came to the team. So they're not going to be the Kings of the West. But who will be the Kings of the West? I probably would go with. I'm gonna probably go with the Spurs. That's they're going to be rebuilding, so they're probably going to be and this is going to be hurt for Spurs fans who've been used to accustomed to winning, but they would be the new Kings of the West until they figure it out. There's more talent there, which with their management, it'll be very soon. But right now, I'm nominating them for Kings of the West. Kings of the East, that's easy going to be the Washington Wizards. What the heck are they doing over there? They just signed Bradley Beal to a contract. This is a team that's literally aiming for the middle. Like, really? Really? Like, listen, I love Vucevic, and I'm glad that we moved on from him. But, man, as a Wizards fan, that's got to drive you bonkers, man. Like, yes, he's loyal and everything like that, but goodness gracious, man, you just break the bank for this dude, and now you're just stuck in mediocrity. And so that's my Kings of the East. MVP and Rookie of the Year. I think it's going to be a three-man race for Rookie of the Year. I got Jaden Ivey, I got Keegan Murray, and Paolo Banchero. Those would be my top three for Rookie of the Year running. MVP. MVP. I'm going to go with Luka. Luka's going to get one. Luka's going to get MVP of the year. And so those are you got any more that I think I nailed them all, the ones you needed, Mikey.
Sounds good. Gary, what's yours?
I think I'm going to go with Banchero because I think he's going to get the minutes and he's got the build. Like I'm going to say now with Banchero, my tagline to him should be he's got built like a tank but handles like a Porsche. I think that's going to be my. That's what I think of Banchero. So I'm going for that. I think he's Rookie of the Year. I could see Giannis having a big season. I think it's always hard to go against the stat line that he can post up. I think San Antonio is going to be the worst team in the league. I think that they are aiming for that. I'm not saying they'll win it, but I think a team who could make noise in the West next year is the Pelicans. I think if Zion comes in healthy, add Ingram, McCollum, the pieces they've got around them, I quite like the look of that team. So I think they might shock some people, but I do think it could be a Golden State versus Milwaukee, or even a repeat with Boston in the finals going forward. So that would be my tip. And I think whether Golden State win it or not depends on what guys like Kuminga and Moody are going to bring to that team net going forward. And James Wiseman, I think, could actually tip things if he hits anywhere. And if he becomes a good 13-8 guy, Wiseman could actually make that team pretty scary. I don't know, Mikey, you got anything you would add to that?
Yeah, Spurs and the Wizards. Yeah, I think they're gonna be the bottom feeders in both conferences. MVP. I actually think, and he come close this year. I think Joel Embiid's got a really good shout next year of winning MVP.
Yes,
I think as long as Harden can stay healthy, I still don't, and I've always said this, I don't think any team with James Harden as one of the best 2 or 3 players on their team is going to win a title. I just don't believe in James Harden to be that guy. But they're still going to be one of the better teams in the East. So, yeah, I'm going to say Joel Embiid for MVP. Rookie of the Year, Banchero. I'm actually going to say NBA champions next year. And there's not a lot of people saying this, but I think it's going to be the Clippers.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's going to be the Clippers because they've added depth. They've added John Wall. Mm-hmm. They've got lots of shooting. They've got Marcus Morris, if Paul George and Kawhi can stay healthy. I can't remember what their record is with the two of them on the floor together when they're both playing, but
they're really good.
It's pretty good. And then you got Norman Powell, you got Batum who's returned, Robert Covington. I think they've signed Rodney Hood as well, another guy that can shoot the ball. They're loaded. So I think they're going to come pretty close next year. So I'm going to say the Clippers just for a little outside shout there. It's worth a tenner, I reckon.
Why not? So Cortez, before we, and I think that's a hell of a shout, actually, Mikey. I think that's a really good pick. Before we go, obviously you've got your pod, you've got your Twitter presence. Would you like to plug any of those for our listeners so they might come and join you?
Sure, man. Guys, I am a podcast host for Balls Not Court podcast. There's the hat right there. Lovely. So I do generic. So I do a lot of college, pro football, NBA. Of course, I'm the NBA guy. Kevin Carter, who's our co-host, he's more the football guy. The Hardwood Nation, I'm affiliated with them as well. They're our guys who do a lot of basketball. Kevin, unfortunately, is a Heat fan, so that's where the disconnect happens there. So is CL. He's also a Heat fan. So dealing with two Heat fans, and I had to do a basketball podcast. There's always that whole big brother, little brother kind of dynamic, like the Clippers and the Lakers, the Magic and the Heat dynamic there. But they're great at what they do. So I've been doing that for like 5 or 6 years. So Gary is a big supporter, and I had to give him a hat when he came down. So Magic, hey, Orlando Magic UK, great show that y'all do here. I watch y'all from time to time. Y'all always are do well. It gives out. Shout out to the community. Y'all represent the Magic basketball community very well, and it's always an honor, man, to see basketball fans. Even across the pond, the root for our team. Magic Twitter, man, and Twitter in general, man. I remember when I logged on Twitter and for the first time, because I'm like, I have Facebook. I'm like, oh man, I'm a big Magic fan. You don't see too many Magic fans on like Facebook that's hardcore like that. And I'm like, I don't know too many Magic fans like here. You go on Twitter, man, there's about 20 or 30 people Magic fans that's bigger Magic fans than me, or just as big as me. And so it's just so humbling when I meet all you guys, man, and y'all guys do a hell of a job on the podcast, man. And I'm glad that I was able to have us on the show, man. It's been an honor, man. I thank you guys for having me on.
We've absolutely loved having you on, and Cortez, it's one of those where it's been like, got to get Cortez on this show because you're one of the guys where it's like, you know ball. I've known you for a long time on the Real GM as well, and you know ball, you know your players, and you've always got reasoned views. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I appreciate as well that you've got up so early in Orlando. So,
has this helped the hangover though? That's the question.
Oh man, I'm finna go cook me up some sausage and Eggos and finna wake up, man. So trust me, y'all done got me going now. And then I'm going to this. There's this water park that's near Kissimmee. I'm gonna go hang out there. I got a year pass. So I'm gonna go cool down because it's 90 degrees right now. 11 o'clock. It's 90 degrees at 11 o'clock. That's how hot it is here.
I'm surprised to know that it isn't that hot here.
I think it's in the 70s.
I don't even know what it is.
I would love that weather right now. Jesus.
We've got a bit of a breeze, and it's typically not overcast, you know.
Yeah.
Cloudy
and overcast.
Yeah, man. But it's been a real pleasure to have you on. And again, as always, I'm going to thank anyone who's listening, watching. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, it's at Orlando Magic UK. And for the latest news, do visit our website, which is orlandomagicuk.com. So from Cortez, from Mikey and myself, go Magic.